Hello, it's hard to believe that it's nearly the end of 2024, but 2025 will indeed be upon us soon. It's been a wild year, and to conclude it, I figured it would be fun to repeat what I did in 2023 and make a video reviewing the programming projects that I've made this year. So without further delay, let's begin. So, towards the beginning of the year, and also the end of 2023 actually, I was interested in the wave function collapse algorithm, mainly because it was probably one of the coolest procedural generation algorithms I'd ever seen. The summary of how it works is that you feed it in a small sample image, and the algorithm looks for patterns and what patterns are allowed to fit next to each other, and then randomly places said patterns into a new, larger image and eliminates possibilities based on what has already been placed, essentially collapsing parts of the image into its new possibilities until we finally get a result image. The patterns I'm speaking of are essentially small grid samples of the image. For example, every 2x2 sub image pixel in the image, and you can increase the sample size to say 3x3 and 4x4, though I think once you get past 4x4 becomes a little bit too unwieldy and slow to use, in my experience. I tried to implement it in Rust after doing some research. I wasn't really able to get it to work at first. I kind of gave up for a bit, but then found a paper going into further detail on how the algorithm worked, and I was actually able to finally implement it. It was really awesome. It wasn't the most performant, but I liked playing around with it and seeing what patterns it could make. Overall fun project, and it made a pretty cool demo. I've already got a few videos of these projects on this channel in which I talk about them, so I'll keep this brief. Essentially, I got interested in seeing if I could make an infinite world generator using Perlin noise and display it in OpenGL. It was a fun project to work on, and I was able to make some fun graphical effects such as trees and water, which I thought were cool. I then decided to use my InfWorld code to generate the background in the game Flight and Fight, in which you piloted a plane and fought other planes in the sky. It was a first project that I used Blender for, and I had a fun experience with it. It's a simple game, but I think it's fun, and I'm happy with how it turned out. Most of the recreational programming that I do is to make computer games, but in this case, I decided that I want to create something for my desktop. You see, I use the awesome tiling window manager and use dmenu as my run prompt, but I personally had some issues with how dmenu was in its default state. I only really needed it to give me a prompt to run GUI apps, since I would just run terminal applications from, well, the terminal, and it was cluttered with a bunch of junk that I normally wouldn't run or couldn't run from dmenu. So I wrote these two utility programs in the Go programming language to list all of the desktop apps I have installed from desktop files and pipe it all into dmenu before being piped out to be run. Overall, it was a fun, simple project, and I like Go as a programming language, but I'm not sure what else I could use for it in the future, but we'll see. During the summer this year, some friends and I decided that we wanted to participate in this year's GMTK Game Jam together, and we decided to learn how to use Godot, and Burp Run was our test game to learn how to use Godot collaboratively. It was a fairly simple but nice platformer game. I have a video in which I play a few levels. It was a fun project to work on. Following up to that, our entry to the game jam was The Server Must Scale, and while it did not win anything, I'm still happy with how it looks, and I think it's actually kind of fun to play. The basic idea is that you have to build a factory that represents a server that has to process a lot of data, and you have to ensure that it scales to fit the theme built to scale. I love fun working on this with my friends, even if it was a little stressful with the time crunch. This was a quick side project that I made to test out concept for an idea that I had. The basic idea is that two players control two sides. One controls the Allies and the other controls the Axis. The Allies are trying to land on the beaches of Normandy for D-Day and capture the Axis flag, while the Axis are trying to stop the Allies by building obstructions and shooting them. It still needs some work, and maybe I'll update it a little in the future. This is a work-in-progress project. It's just a Minecraft clone that I'm making in an effort to see what goes into making a voxel engine. I thought it would be a fun programming challenge as well. I might even be able to use the voxel engine that I make here in future projects, which I think would be cool. Overall, it's still rough around the edges and needs way more features and polishing, but I think it could be cool. There are a couple videos on this channel with me demoing some features. I'll probably work on this more in the new year as well, so expect some updates. Anyway, that's almost everything for this video. However, I do want to thank you all for 133 subs. I hit 100 subs at the beginning of 2024, and I was a little too lazy to make a special, and so I suppose this kind of counts? Not really. Anyway, thank you to the 133 people that decided that my content was worthwhile enough to listen to and support. Have a great new year, and may 2025 be a great year for us all.